KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
But never quench. I know the consequence, feeling as I do. We're in a spinning top. Where, tell me, will it stop? And what am I to say? Open our music book that only few can look, and I'll write a song for you. Love is a symphony, hearts in one melody, 'cause I'll write a song for you. Sounds never dissipate.
Welcome back in. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Of course, this is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. We are always on theme, so I'm going to assume, is that Tiffany Red? Who is it? Who? Earth, Wind, and Fire. Okay. So you got to connect the dots for me, because not only did... So I'm assuming that was Philip Bailey's falsetto.
Well, the name of the song is I'll Write a Song for You.
Okay. Shout out to that. There we go.
You know, I try to stay on theme, right?
You did, right? So there's...
I know it wasn't one of the most popping Earth, Wind, and Fire songs, but, you know, had to dig in the crates and stay on theme.
I appreciate Philip Bailey's falsetto, always. Okay. So, as Andy said, we're going to stay on theme this hour, and we are going to be discussing songwriting. And, you know, there's been a lot of conversation about that. This isn't the first time that we've talked about it. But in the digital age, these conversations are becoming, you know, more and more popular. We also, I got to play a verse from Kevin Durant. He's on the new Staley single. And, you know, Katie, for me, is really giving like 93 flow, 90, you know, in that era. As my sun manifests, my earth rotates. I take you in my third eye and bless you with the soul. You know, that's what I'm feeling from this. I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying that's the vibe that I'm getting. This is not the first time we've seen Katie pick up the mic. You know, I don't know if he's serious, if he's just having a good time, what he's doing, but I'm not mad at it. So we're going to get into that. And we're gonna talk a little Suge night. I think Suge is gaming, you guys. I think that Suge is jumping on the podcast wave as best he can. I wonder how it works because I guess you're not allowed to make money from your crimes in jail, right? But how does this work if you're doing a podcast during your phone call time and it's being distributed? Like the money doesn't have to necessarily go directly to him. We know he has a producer and outlet, but I just wonder what that looks like and how that all works and what the money's like with that. We're going to get into that. And then, we're going to get into a little Amber Rose news that hit the internet over the weekend. This is a reoccurring theme. Ladies, popular Instagram vixens, I guess that people feel are past their prime or should be, suffering through life without a man or settle for their square, are popping up with, the young stunners, the young bowlers, the young hot guys. I don't even know if these are the correct terms, and the people, social media, they're upset. They are really upset with these women. And, we'll get into a little bit of all of that. But listen, let's talk a little bit about what is going on with, did we finish the All-Star game? I feel like we did. Overall, it's a no for me. It's a thumbs down. The NBA has to do something to revitalize it because they're losing ground. And my thing is, if this is the showcase for the casual fan to get excited about the game, coming a week after a great Super Bowl game with a great halftime performance, this was not the best of the best. If you just saw clips from Saturday night, Steph and Sabrina, maybe. But I just think that it should have been a better showing.
I blame the players.
Don't got that dog in them, not being up.
I mean, it just seems as if like they don't care about the competitive aspect, just even, the pride aspect. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the West. Let's go ball out. A lot of these cats nowadays, they just look at this as an opportunity for rest. Oh, because it's such a long season.
Do you think it was better when they had them picking teams?
It didn't matter.
Okay.
Because some of the decline was that too. I just think it's this wave, this generation of players. I feel like,
we hate to use soft, but they're softer.
Yeah, I'm trying not to use that word. You feel me? But I just feel like the last couple of dope All-Star games that I can remember off the top of my head was 2001 in D.C. when
I was there.
When Kobe and what was it, Stephon Marbury and Iverson was going at it. 2003 in ATL with Jordan hitting the shot. It was supposed to be that one.
Mariah Carey.
I mean, those were the last couple of All-Star games where these cats are millionaires.
L.A. Blake Griffin jumping over the
2011.
That was memorable.
It was out here in L.A. It was very much so star-filled. I give you that. But yeah, it's just not competitive no more. These cats just want to relax and chill nowadays. They think that, I don't want to injure myself, so I'm not going to play or I'm not going to go as hard.
I think, I think it's the different approach about the game. I think these new players don't love the game in the same way.
Yeah, because I'm hating it. I hate that I'm saying it right now.
That sound like an old head.
That too, but this fight for wanting to pay collegiate athletes, I think it's
hurting.
It's hurting because I just read a report about Shedeur Sanders. He's getting almost 10 mil.
Yep.
10 million. It's like, well, where's the motivation to want to even go to the next level?
I don't know if you remember this, and we can get into this more on the other side, but when I ran down the top 10 players for NIL, 6, I believe, of the 10 were legacy athletes. By that, I mean their parent was a professional athlete. And now they're getting the bag because Bronny was in there, Shedeur was in there. What is the guy that's related to the Mannings? I can't remember. There's a couple others. So there is, yes, 100% something to the NIL prospect. However, on the men's side, even though they're cashing the heck out, there's still a bigger bag waiting for them in the NBA. The WNBA, they got problems. The number one pick in the WNBA draft coming up is Indiana. Do you want to see Caitlin in Indiana? Probably not. You want to see her like Sabrina in a major market.
I mean, she's in Iowa right now.
She is, but for the WNBA,
Business.
you need her in one
market.
of your bigger franchise markets. You just do. When we come forward, we're going to get into more trending topics and headlines. We have some comments in the chat. Thomas Outlaw, you had another comment on the other video. I missed it. If you could put it back in the chat, please. We'll get to that and more on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. If we're the ones disproportionately impacted by these climate catastrophes, why should we be silent? Turning up the volume all year long on the climate conversation for KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. The chat is always lit. Thomas Outlaw says, is it wrong to push the NBA players with the addition of WNBA, G League, and possibly AND1 or semi-pro players to the mix for the weekend? I mean, no, that's what they're doing. There's a G League showcase that went down. Obviously, Mac McClung is a G League player that was in the dunk contest. A little disrespected. But he was there. You know, there's no more AND1. That doesn't exist. Could have involved some of the big 3 stuff if that relationship didn't go so awry But that won't be happening. Brother Alfonso says guaranteed contracts in the NBA don't lend way to doing anything extra. Nope, totally disagree. It's been guaranteed contracts in the NBA for quite some time now. This has everything to do with the approach, I think, especially as we see in the NBA. These kids are famous in high school. They got millions of followers on social media from their high school highlights, right? And they're getting NIL money, which feels like big money. And in some cases, it really is. But I think it's just a different mindset and approach. With the introduction of threes, too, defense has gone down the drain. That game score is too high. There is no reason in the world we should have almost 400 points scored in an NBA All-Star game. We don't want, maybe, okay, don't play defense for the first 3 quarters. But that fourth quarter, that's traditionally when the players would lock in and act like they had a little bit of pride. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, maybe you're right. Maybe we needed to see a little more grit from the LeBrons, KDs, Dames at this point, Stephs. But then on the other side of that is if they get hurt, everybody's mad. Remember Kobe broke his nose. What was that in the Orlando? I think that was the last All-Star game that I traveled to in 2012 in Orlando. Kobe broke his nose. Well, D-Wade broke his nose. And there was a lot of talk about that. So, I don't know. But I do think, 1, it starts with the vets setting the tone. 2, I think at least the fourth quarter, we should see some defense.
We should see some defense all 4 quarters, in my opinion.
And you got to do something because, yeah, it's a different game now with different rules. Somewhere some pride has to kick in.
Yeah, these players, I don't think they view being in the league as a privilege anymore.
I think they think it is an expectation.
It's an expectation, like you said.
It's a slide through. I think that too. And I'm not saying this is because of this, but there are a lot more legacy players in the game.
That's who.
So I think that changes the outside players' approach too, because some of them think, oh, these guys are going to slide in, different things like that. It's interesting, Draymond, there was an alt podcast, a Jordan podcast with Draymond Green, Taylor Rooks, and Charles Barkley. And at one point, Cat was the leading scorer in the game, but the West was down. And Draymond was like, just like the old days in Minnesota, Cat got 40, team losing by 20. Won't. But I mean, I think too, it says a lot to sometimes.
But they're the number 1 seed.
They are.
Or number 2.
He said the old days. The old days.
Okay, yeah,
he
right.
said the old days. And that was true in the olden days. But I do think the NBA has a problem on their hands because the NFL is coming for their lunch, trying to take it international too, which has always been a strong suit for the NBA. Meanwhile, the outside is that players in Europe are getting stronger and better.
I still think I don't think the NFL is going to take over the NBA though.
But it's tapping into the view. Listen, the views don't lie.
Globally, they still got a long way to go.
Globally, they got a long way to go. But in order to stay hot globally, you got to matter here in the U.S.
That's true. But, once football season is done with, you still have like 4 months to focus on the NBA. So I don't think the NFL
will,
quote unquote, take over the NBA. I don't think so.
I don't know, but I do think that coming up in the years coming up, we got some issues.
Holla at me when American football is in the Olympics.
Aren't they trying to do something like that? A 7-on-7
or something like that.
That's the start. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not going to be on NBC. It's going to be on the Fishing Channel or something.
Facts. Brother Alfonso says, one thing I think we can agree on, just too many dang games. I'm 50-50 on that. I do think they could shorten the season slightly or maybe shorten the preseason, but they do need some more practice.
Why?
I don't think that they I think because the players don't respect it. It's never going to happen because of the money reasons.
Well, I'm sorry, players.
they're not respecting the time frame, and maybe the marathon is too much, and
Really?
they're coasting for too many miles at the beginning. Maybe,
Come on, your
maybe.
favorite players, Michael Jordan, they took pride in playing
I'm not
82 games.
Listen, I'm not saying they're not, but the game has changed now. The way it is, they're not playing defense. They're not
Exactly. So why were y'all complaining about how many games? Y'all just standing around.
Exactly. So cut them.
Oh my God.
Something. Thomas Outlaw says, I think the NBA tried too hard to satisfy too many different masters. Get real playground cats involved. What do you mean playground cats involved in what? I think that the archetype for an NBA player has changed a great deal. We used to think of it as a more, inner city types or guys with rougher backgrounds or had to go through the edges, go through Rucker, go through the league, scrappy, work their way up. So we don't think about it anymore.
You know what? If that's the case, then I don't know if it's the owners. I don't know if it's the general managers of these teams. Maybe they need to step away from the legacy players. You feel me? And get those players who went to UCLA for 4 years. You know what I mean? Look at your boy, in my opinion, it's one of my favorite rookies, Jaime Jaquez, that plays for the Heat. Mm-hmm. Solid player. I think
was he the one in the dunk contest?
He was in the dunk contest. I think he could actually make a name for himself, but it's them type of players I feel that's gonna bring, what we used to have in the NBA. When you focus on these legacy players that already expected to be in the league at 5 years old, it's not gonna work.
We shall see. Thomas Outlaw says, Jennifer Hudson was great, but I was hoping for Janet Jackson to represent Indiana at the halftime show. Jennifer Hudson did give a great performance, but not appropriate for halftime at a basketball game and the showcase. That's not going to get you hype. That's not going to get you into excitement mode. That's not going to get you into what are we going to see in the second half. It doesn't. There's theme, there's fit, there are the right approaches, and that was not it. Brother Alfonso says, Andy nailed it. I don't consider it to be a privilege to be in the NBA anymore. I mean, it's changing. Renee Black says it's too many games, in my opinion.
Stop it. How old are you?
I do think that they need to change an approach, and
I think the approach is the finances. Lower contracts. If you win, you get paid
that
more.
What they would?
These $300 million contracts that they're getting now, reduce that. Reduce it. Or if you're a champion, then you deserve a $300 million contract. If you're not a champion, if your team doesn't even make the playoffs, there's going to be a base salary. You're probably going to get like $10 million or something.
But you know what a lot of that has to do with? Then we'd see a concentration of, good players only in the cities that can afford to do that or get those bonuses. And small market teams always complain with stuff like that and say that they lose out on things like that.
Okay, well, it's a cap league-wide.
Everybody shut it down. Too much money in the sport.
We need communism in the game or something.
Okay, so listen, let's get to this Tiffany Red story. So Tiffany Red is a songwriter. As I mentioned, we heard from her recently a couple months ago in the whole Cassie and Diddy situation. She claimed that she wrote a song for Cassie and Diddy was sort of intimidating, threatening. She saw some things with them and she kept silent, but no more. So in a recent Instagram Live, she expressed her frustration towards mainstream artists, saying that they weren't sufficiently paying all of the songwriters, right? So she says fair compensation basically is missing from the music industry. She said that there are so many songs that she has written by herself or just with her writing partner before an artist was even involved, right? And she's had to give away some of that publishing. She's founded an organization called the 100 Percenters, and it's dedicated to the rights of music creatives. So she was discussing, right, Jay-Z calling out the Grammys, the Recording Academy, for their failure to award Beyonce, and what he said, right? And so she basically started off saying, so let me get this straight. Jay-Z expects Beyonce to win Album of the Year when all the songwriters that contribute to these albums are not compensated, and she takes an obscene amount of publishing from all of them. She, put up a few more posts about entertainers like B modernizing their business practices, because we know back in the day, it's like, well, it's Beyonce. Of course, you're going to give her a piece because 100% of nothing is nothing, right? So if you give Beyonce 10 points on your song and you have Beyonce do it, now you're known to a greater audience, and Beyonce's performing your song, and it could be Grammy nominated, American Music Award nominated, platinum plus whatever, because you work with Beyonce. And that seemed like a fair deal to, people. Again, 100% of nothing means nothing. Well, Tiffany had something to say about how this goes. So we're going to listen to a couple of her comments and then get into some more details about songwriting and where we're at currently as far as credits and so forth.
Almost every record that I have done, I have written when the artist was not in the room. I'll go through my own songs. Replay. Zendaya got 10% of the publishing, I think. She did not write on the song. She didn't. That song was written at a Rihanna song camp. It was on hold for Rihanna. Then it was on hold for Rita Ora. Famous came to me and said, yo, Tiff, there's this artist named Zendaya. We should cut Replay on her. So Zendaya got publishing and writer credit. She did not write on Replay. King by Tamar Braxton. I wrote and produced that song. I wrote that song for myself as an artist. In my living room. Tamar got, I don't know what she ended up getting. I think I own like 85% of that song. But I should own all of it because I did all of it. She didn't write.
So she goes on to talk about Seven Streeters. She said that hurt her because Seven is a writer. She knows what it feels like, etc., etc. One thing, when people like point to Beyonce and say, oh my God, where's the creativity? How can you have 20 writers on a song? Listen, if we bring in an interlope, right? If we bring in a sample, and even if we flip the sample in a different way, if we just allude to it. For example, Cisco gets no publishing, no royalties from the thong song. All because he said she was living La Vida Loca. They didn't get that cleared. Ricky Martin, he should have been credited as a writer. I believe he is now. But it's such a small part of the song. Yeah, it was catchy. Did it make the whole song? No. Was it a little parsley on top? Yes, it was. And that is, in some of these cases, when we're talking about 20 writers, that's what a lot of it has to do with. And when people are like, oh, where's the creativity? Now, there are some songs that definitely just straight take what the old sample track was and placed it on there. But sometimes they do some different things. In the Renaissance album, it had interlopes and other, resung versions of things, but it was a whole new song, a whole new creation. Would you prefer Beyonce not to give those writers credit? Because that's what was happening before, and people said it was unfair and that these songs were being made. Think about how Rick James felt about MC Hammer and You Can't Touch It back in the day. He hated it. We'll have more on this topic on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. A historic apartment building in West Baltimore is reopening. Mayor Brandon Scott, who was Black, was among those on hand to help cut the ribbon on the Carlton, a newly redeveloped apartment building in Reservoir Hill. After sitting vacant for nearly 4 decades, the building was gutted and restored through a renovation project approved by the Baltimore City Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. The building will bring a dozen market-rate apartments to the historic neighborhood when it opens this spring. Brittany Griner's number 42 is now in the rafters at her alma mater. Griner returned to Baylor over the weekend to have her number retired, the first time she attended a Bears game since her senior season 11 years ago. Griner, who is Black, was part of Baylor's undefeated national championship team as a junior during the 2011-2012 season, averaging 22 points and 5 blocks per game during her 4 seasons. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. That's Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyaudio.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyaudio.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
That was another way. I would smoke once an hour. That didn't work either. All that would happen at some point of the day, I would end up doubling up. Other ways that I tried to quit was I stopped buying cigarettes totally. But if I took 3 puffs off of 15 friends, those didn't count because they weren't my cigarettes and they weren't full cigarettes. I went through a lot.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Shake it, 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 bounce, 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 bounce. Baby, you the man, 'cause you put it on me. And every morning I roll over, feel you touching on me. I got another man, but he ain't like you. And I can't be your baby mama, though I'd like to. Call me real late at night when my man is sleeping. Take a red eye to the west side, up and down my spine, and let you feel what you've been missing. I'm so bona fide. Call me, ooh, when you need me, baby. You don't have to worry. Call me, we can do. We can do something. Call me, call me. Ooh, when you need me, baby. You don't have to worry. Call me, we can do something. Baby, take
Welcome
my
back
hand
in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. But he ain't like you. Shout out to Tweet. Call me. Call us 800-920-1580 if you have something you want to add to this conversation. You know we love to hear from you. We love reading your comments in the YouTube chat, but we like to hear your voice too, so we can make that, intimate connection. Hear it all. So we were talking about writing and songwriting credits and kind of how that all goes down. A guy named Adrian Marcel hit up the comments. Now, if you're not familiar with Adrian, he is an artist from the Bay Area, R&B artist. I think he also did some acting, might have been on Grownish, maybe. Fact check me on that. I'm unsure. But Adrian has put out, some mixtapes, had some vibes going on. And he left a comment in reference to Tiffany's live. He said, if Beyonce or Tamar or Zendaya touch a song that no one would hear if you kept it for yourself, and now the world hears it, and it's everywhere, they deserve a piece of the publishing. That's just what it is. 100% of nothing or 85% of millions. You can now say you wrote for Beyonce or any of them and charge someone else a bag up front to even sit in the room and write for them. You can now go get bags. Use that stuff to your advantage instead of complaining about winning, love. Or stop giving your stuff up and become bigger than them all. But we know that's not easy. You got a pen, make that play instead of a complaint. And I feel him on that. He's right. I'm not mad at that because I think at a certain point, and I don't want this to be misconstrued, I'm not saying she shouldn't speak out. I'm not saying that she should not ask for what she feels entitled for. But there is a point when you understand the rules of the game and you either got to play or get off the court. And that's the reality of it. I understand the push to want to make some changes to the music industry because honestly, writers across the board, if you look at it, screenwriters, right? Music writers, Journalist, I'm a journalist. It's hard out here for do you know what I'm saying? The pay scale is not to the level of creativeness that comes out of it. But the game is the game. And at some point, once you realize that, you can push for change, but you have a choice. You are either going to stay and try and make your difference within the game, or you're going to get out the game. But I think sort of, again, not saying she shouldn't speak out or bring awareness to these issues, but a lot of times, sometimes if you look in the comment, and we see this a lot, you know, the average person is like, what are you talking about? You're talking about millions. You get to live this glamorous lifestyle. And no, that should not be an excuse for mistreatment, but people can't relate because they feel like you're getting paid to play. You know? And I mean, whether that's real or perceived, it's just, you know, something to consider. Kendi said the culture of complaining after signing contracts is annoying. Yes and no. I mean, I'm sure you don't feel that way about Kanye, right? But listen, the momentum, the what is the word I'm looking for? The structure has always been for the institution, right? There are certain moments when the worker, the employee, the whomever can strike out. I think now is one of those moments. I 100% think that the, you know, writers in the music industry, they might want to consider unionizing. You got to talk about it because it's a very individualized thing. And because this writer feels like, you know what? Take 10% of my song, Beyonce, and blow me up so I can charge everybody else $250,000 for me to write for them. Go ahead. And I'll collect those millions over there too. It's a very real thought. Because what is also true is you keep all your rights and nobody hears it. Have you accomplished something? I'm not saying you haven't. I'm asking, and it's a personal thing, you know? Some people might say, yeah, I have my self-respect. I have my song. Finances don't matter that much. Do you want to make money as a songwriter? It's, you know, it's really hard to tell. I think that obviously there's a labor shift overall, but the game is the game. Is the game. And it's hard to blow as an independent artist. And you shouldn't stop doing that. But look at someone like Esther Dean, for example. She wrote hits for a lot of people. Tried to put out music as an artist. But somehow the audience didn't connect to her when it was her performing her own music. So what should she do? Hold back those gems? Or give them to someone else and lose out on a little piece of it? So she can still stay connected to the things she loves. You could do your own music for free. You could release it and not give those songs up. It's a real thing. You look at Victoria Monet, who wrote for everybody and toiled away for years, but still kept going on her own project. And as we saw, 2023 was Victoria's year to blow. She's still climbing. So there's all types of things and ways to approach it. But I do think slamming the artist for a known industry practice that some writers don't have an issue with, others do. Maybe they're just not saying anything. I think the answer is unionization. Because for Beyonce, hey, you guys said I'm a thief. That's always been the knock on Beyonce, right? As far as songwriting. But when she started giving everybody credit, then you said, oh, well, you're not just a thief, you're an untalented one, because why do you need all these people? So make up your mind. Like, how do we want it to go? Are we okay that it takes a different mindset, a different structure, a different course of action to put together music and a song now because we utilize different technology, because we've come to terms with different things? It's something to think about, you know? Who's the last artist you know that singularly wrote a song? Or it's just two people? We all sit there and listen to the credits when they talk about Song of the Year, Album of the Year. It's never just one person, two people. This is the way the sausage is made now in this industry. And I think the only way to collectively change is to move as a unit. But is everybody going to want to be involved in that? We'll have to see. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You're locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win. And we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So before we move on from this topic, I just want to drop a couple of other things as to consider as we move along with this conversation. There's alleged that Beyonce took the song Baby Boy from back in the day from a woman named Jennifer Armour, said she had it first. They went to court, but Jennifer didn't win because they said it was hard to prove who established the song first. If I Were a Boy was allegedly written for a debut artist, BC Jean, I think. She was given songwriting credits on the album, right? But she allegedly didn't know the song was going to be on the album, right? Don't know if we've heard anything from her since. So, sometimes it can work for you, sometimes maybe not. But on the flip side of that is, did it not work for her because she had a song on Beyonce's album? Some of these questions we'll never know. And sometimes the reality is everyone is not going to be a superstar. Everyone is not going to be, a top level star. But it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy success and enjoy your chosen career. But you do have to figure it out because you know the rules of the game. And just complaining about it is not going to motivate someone to say, you know what? I should give you more back. Because they haven't done it yet. Okay, so listen, we're talking about Suge Knight and his podcast. Suge has had a lot to say. He's been tweeting out stuff about Snoop. He's coming out with some more allegations on, I guess, topics that are relevant, and he's weighing in with his 2 cents, right? But in a recent call, he made some accusations about Left Eye and Chili. One of them was that he alleged Left Eye had a intimate relationship with Dallas Austin, who was one of TLC's biggest producers, and oh, by the way, the father of Chili's son, Tron. He also, made some allegations about a commentary Left Eye allegedly had about some STIs and things of that nature, but we're going to leave that part out of the conversation. Here's the thing. Left Eye is no longer here to validate the story, to dispute it. Chili is in a whole other relationship. Why is she going to get in on the mix? And what I will also say is, years ago, Suge told a form of this story, but it had different details to it. So with so many people, we talk about new media. We talk about it a lot when it comes to athletes, but certainly we see moguls getting in on it, like Dame Dash. We know he's talked quite a bit. We've seen others, Fat Joe, Drink Champs. They're coming up on their 10th year anniversary. Did you know that Drink Champs has been around for 10 years? So listen, these past couple of years, this is the new. It's been around for 10 years, but media is changing. The way that we're getting these stories are changing. And I feel like it's one thing if you're sitting around in a studio or at a barbecue and you're kicking stuff, maybe, but should all of these stories be held out and taken as the absolute gospel? Some people are known to put a little sauce on it when they're telling a story. Sometimes we remember things not exactly in the way that they were, presented. Sometimes our perception of the same situation is just different. But I think in Suge's case, people are interested in hearing what he has to say because obviously he was the head of one of the most acclaimed and notorious and infamous record labels of all time. It was part of a movement. It shaped a lot of things in the hip hop industry. But at what point do we just say, man, he's just the old dude in the club in jail and bypass all of his ramblings, even him coming at Snoop about some of these things? With some of them, it's like, well, what do you want us to do? Snoop at one time said this. 20, 30 years later, and this goes back to the accountability conversation that we were having the first hour, at what point do you move on from some things? And please don't misunderstand. I am not saying that everything is a case of something that should be just gotten past or forgotten about. But at what point, for your peace of mind, at what point, for the sake of progress, do we stop bringing up these small, and again, not minimizing any of the pain, hurt, or things that have come from these things, but these small or sometimes big transgressions and move forward with life? Because again, what is it doing for us? What do you want to happen at this point? Is the answer, I mean, Suge's in jail. So, I mean, it is what it is. I understand you're trying to get your money. I don't know if he's still trying to do appeals to get himself out, just trying to keep relevant so that he could keep a lot of money on his books so he could get the top-notch ramen. Don't know. But in general, as we see more and more, and I say this in quote, storytelling stepping out into the media, right? Just sharing our experiences. What is the cutoff for taking it seriously? What is the cutoff for making it relevant conversation? I don't necessarily have the answers to this. I'm just wondering. Listen, we were talking about music publishing and new artists, so I think this is a perfect moment to play the clip of Kevin Durant's verse on the new Staley single. Again, I think it's a little boom bap. May not be a bad thing. There's conversation about T.I.'s son, Damani, taking on some of J. Cole's vibe. Feel KD has a little J. Cole, Wale-esque vibe in this, but I want to hear what you guys think.
Hey yo, look, rest in peace to Barbara Davis. We hit another layer. When she speak to me, it's like she's saying prayers. I feel like Randy Moss when he was on the Raiders. Man, they love the haters. This woman so fine, I give her cash payments. Baby, I'm just so glued to the basics. I wanted more room, so I copped the crib sitting adjacent. In this whole world, I'm Freddie Jason. I'm sitting in the places of great but never complacent. Yeah, baby, I'm a stoner. Yeah, I took that long walk up the hill that made me a loner. And nah, baby, I don't like being humble. I hang with mongrels. Gotta pay attention. There's a God sitting amongst you, and you know it.
The money that was made couldn't be scared money. I had no one to put up the bread for me. It's hot on the block, still milking change from it. If it ain't about the...
So that was KD's verse. Shout out to him saying, I'm a stoner. It's a new NBA because what? Remember those years ago when KD was leaving the club out here in West Hollywood? And that was when, everybody had their prescription weed and it was coming in the prescription weed bottles and it fell out of the car and KD was like, that wasn't mine. Well, whose was it, KD? But now he's free because the NBA doesn't test anymore and it's legal in a lot of states. What I will say, though, is maybe NBA All-Stars should consider adding a performance element to All-Star. And we get a little mini concert with Dame. Lou Will isn't in the league anymore, but I'm sure there's a couple others. They got some songs, like a talent show or something like that. Something to spice it up. Andy?
Well, Dame performed last year, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. But I'm saying, do you know what I mean? Like a couple of them. Because there's a few of them that, rap and did it. Maybe we could have a battle rap type thing or something. You're not feeling that? No.
I mean, no. I know Miles Bridges could rap, but Marcus Smart.
Aaron Gordon, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Maybe bring the oldies back. Maybe we have a golden oldies. Bring Shaq in there. AI can drop what he did with Jules. Something. I don't know. We'll have to see. Listen, when we come forward, more trending topics and headlines. We're going to get into a little bit of Real Housewives of Atlanta news. Plus, we have some more trending topics and headlines. We're going to talk about Cameron having to pay to use his own image. All of that and more on the other side. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen, I'm so on fire.